This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of North Haven.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Planning and Zoning Commission for the month of June 2018. My name is Vern Carlson, and I am the Nick. Excuse me. My name is Vern Carlson. I'm the chairman of the commission, and we're here tonight. And we have a few public hearings and also several site plans. The way the system works is the applicant will present the application to the commission. Commission be satisfied, we'll open it back up on the public hearings to the public. On the site plans, there is no input from the public, and certainly there's no input on deliberation from the public. With that, let's get going. And Alan, let me introduce our staff to you. Jonathan Bodwell is our town engineer. My extreme right, next to him is Alan Fredrickson, the land use administrator. To my left is Mary Lee Radjuski. She's a court reporter. Next to her is Pam Miller. She is our staff secretary. With that, Jim?
I'm Jim Giletti, regular member.
Teresa Ranciato-Vili, regular member.
Ron Penton, Vice Chair.
Richard Wilson, Secretary.
Joe Salamini, alternate.
Louis Borelli, alternate.
Okay, with that being said, before we go any further, Alan, is there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, there are a couple of changes. Item number 404 Washington Avenue is not going to be heard this evening. They have requested a postponement to next month. Also, with that is item number 16, which is the site plan. So 404 Washington will not be heard. Also, 57 Dodge Avenue has been withdrawn by the applicant. 1807, which is 400 Sackett Point Road, both the site plan and the CAM have been continued again until July. And item number 9 and number 10, 249 Sackett Point Road, those will be postponed to July 2nd.
Okay, you did get 16 in there, right? Okay. So if there's anybody here for those, any one of those that he had mentioned, the application, they'll not be heard tonight. So you're welcome to stay. If you're here for them, they'll not be heard. With that, we do have a few site public hearings, and we'll get to them first. And with that, we'll go to Rich Wilson to read. Would you read in 18-15S, Rich?
Sure.
Let the record show, Pam, that we're taking 1, 11, and 12 with this. Okay, Rich?
So, excavation and fill permit application of pharmacy and Upjohn Company, LLC, applicant and owner relative to 41 Stiles Lane, map 43, lot 34, plan entitled West Side Corrective Measures Design. The Pharmacia and Upjohn Company, LLC, site North Haven, Connecticut. Prepared by Golder, dated 2018-04-23. The scale is 1 inch for 60 feet. IG 80 zoning district.
Okay, with that being said, if the, John, if you want to step forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is John Parisi. I practice with Porto, Parisi, and Caldwell in Hamden. I live here in North Haven. And I'm here tonight representing the Pharmacy and Upjohn Company, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Pfizer Corporation. The property that is before you this evening is 41 Stiles Lane. I'm sure you're all familiar with it, but for the record, we bound on the west by the National Passenger Rail Corporation, Amtrak. That's the rail line that connects New Haven and Springfield. On the north, we have the Route 40 connector. On the west is the Quinnipiac River, and on the south, various industrial users that have Sackett Point Road addresses. I understand, Mr. Chair, that you've directed that the site plan and coastal area management site plan be heard simultaneously with the public hearing, and I thank you for that. I was going to ask precisely that, and you beat me to the punch, so thank you. To try to put this in a bit of historical context, those of you who have served on the commission for any length of time will remember that this property has been under the microscope of this commission, along with the EPA and the Department of Environmental Protection for the state of Connecticut, now Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, for at least 30 years. Over that time, my client, Pharmacy and Upjohn Company and its parent company, Pfizer, have wound down all manufacturing activities at the site, and I'd say for the past 25 years or so, the only activity at that site has been cleanup. There is, of course, the water treatment plant, which is the most prominent building on the site, and working closely with the EPA and Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, they formulated a comprehensive remediation plan for the entire site. And over the years, we've come before you to implement many of the activities that have been ordered by EPA and DEP. And insofar as the site-wide remediation plan is concerned, I believe this will be the last time we appear before you, because that which we are proposing this evening is the closure for the site. If you go back, I know there's been times when that site-wide remediation plan seemed to go on forever. And in May of 2011, excuse me, when I say you, this commission approved a pilot program for an in situ thermal remediation plan for the site. Now, in situ makes it sound scientific, but it's really an on-site plan, and a couple of pilot wells were sunk on the property to heat the soil to extremely high temperatures and enable the owners of the site and their contractors to remove the soil and thereby clean it up. Well, I'm pleased to report, as I did back in 2014, that the pilot plan worked. And so in 2014, we asked to expand that program to address all of the contamination between the water treatment plant and basically the driveway that leads into the site. Now, if you've, I don't know if any of you had the opportunity to visit, it is a secure site as per orders of EPA and DEEP, but you would have been welcome to go and inspect it in your official capacities. But it is tightly secured because there's a lot of activity going on there. I'm also pleased to report that that program to clean up that contamination has succeeded, and we are now at the point where we're being ordered to close the site by bringing in some 30,000 yards of fill. That fill consists of gravel, various soil types, a packing or a driveway sub-base, crushed stone, and riprap. So we're here this evening asking this commission to allow Pharmacy and Upjohn Company to complete the job that they started 25 to 30 years ago to get that site cleaned up. And with me this evening is Russ Downey from Pfizer and Gary Herta from Golder Associates, whose plan it is. If there are any questions for me at this time, I'll be happy to answer it, or answer them. If there are not, I'll ask Gary to come up and explain the plan in greater detail, and at the conclusion, if any of the members of the commission have any questions, if there's any additional information that will assist you in making your decision on these 3 applications, I'll be here, Mr. Herta will be here, and Russ Downey will be here. So are there any questions at this point?
Is there anybody on the commission that would like to ask any questions now of
John.
John? Do you have any questions for John? No.
Not
Okay.
yet.
Okay, no, we'll get there, John.
Great. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Gary?
No.
Thanks, everyone. As John mentioned, my name's Gary Herta with Golder Associates, H-U-R-T-A. And I'm with Golder Associates. And I'll just give you a quick overview of what we're proposing to do this evening. As John mentioned, we are looking to implement the final component of the site-wide remedy, and that's to construct clean cover systems over the west side of the site to help facilitate future commercial industrial redevelopment of the property. What our remedy consists of is an access driveway, which provides access to the existing groundwater treatment facility, and it will also provide future potential access to any west side redevelopment that gets done on the majority of the site. There's also an asphalt parking lot over here, which will be for access to the east side ecological enhancements. As maybe you're aware, one of the things that that Pharmacy and Upjohn has committed to is to provide future guided access to those east side ecological enhancements, so people can look at that, and groups can come in and look at those east side ecological enhancements. Besides the asphalt cover system, we also have a soil cover system over here on the north end of the property. We have one north of the groundwater treatment facility, and also southwest of the groundwater treatment facility. In both of these areas, we're going to be using those areas to take a lot of the material that's currently on the west side of the site. If people have been out there, and as John mentioned, they had the in-situ thermal remediation took part in roughly this area. If you go out there now, you'll see there's a concrete cover system out there. There's several wells that are still sticking out of the ground. And beneath that cover system is about 6,000 cubic yards of crushed stone, which we're going to move a lot of that material. And some of that material will be used as fill material along our access driveway. And then the remainder of those materials will be the crushed concrete will go in these areas, both north of the groundwater treatment facility and southeast of the groundwater treatment facility. Besides these soil cover systems, there will also be a crushed and gravel cover system, which will go over the majority of the property. That's going to be a minimum of 6 inches, and that's just to provide an extra protective layer so that when people come onto the site, it will provide a barrier to the materials below that. We're keeping the majority of the existing asphalt that's currently present on the site will remain in place, so a lot of this crushed stone will go over it. And this crushed stone could also be a future building material for part of the future site redevelopment. In addition to this gravel cover system, we also have what we call the grade transition cover system. And really what that is, it's right now the grades on the west side of the site generally slope from west to east. and we are putting this grade grade transition cover system out there to basically redirect some of this the stormwater runoff, which might come from the west side, to some of the existing stormwater infrastructure. And one of the things that we are trying to do out there is to maintain and use the existing stormwater infrastructure, just because there's still a lot of remnant infrastructure out there, and to put in a new stormwater management system would probably be very, very complicated, just given all the remnant building foundations and other items that are still out there. There are a couple areas where we're going to be constructing a riprap cover system, and that'll be areas where we have runoff coming from these roadways, and we're directing them into the stormwater infrastructure through one of these soil cover systems. So there will be a couple locations. In total, we estimate that we have about 30,000 cubic yards of various types of materials that will be brought on site. We have about 5,000 cubic yards of grading fill that will be brought over here on the northeast side of the north side of the property, and that's for grading fill for the new proposed access driveway. There'll also be a little bit of grading fill that we place, roughly 1,000 cubic yards will be placed on top of this former firewater pond, which was closed several years ago under a town permit. And then the bulk of the other material will have about 3,000 cubic yards of soil that will be used for the soil cover systems, 3,000 cubic yards of topsoil, and then the remainder of the materials will be roughly 16,000 yards. Will make up this gravel or crushed stone cover system, which is the majority of the west side of the site. So that's about all. So if there are any questions, we'd certainly be happy to take them.
Okay, does the commission have any?
Yeah, I have a couple. And it's more like global questions. So when you say this is the last time you're coming,
Yes.
which I find hard to imagine, but let's say it is. So just generally, so I understand, what you're doing is formally building the road in the parking area, and you're done with any new remediation efforts, but there's still continuing remediation efforts going on site. Is that right? I mean, you're still going to contain the stormwater that goes onto the east side of the site, right? But not allow it to get into the river and put it back and purify it and send it back out, or no?
Yeah. So the active remediations will continue to be the groundwater collection.
Right.
That will operate for the foreseeable future. So they'll continue to collect the groundwater on site, treat it in the groundwater treatment facility, and then discharge it.
Because one of the things we proved a long time ago was that rubber barrier, and I know Mr. Downey's been there a bunch of times, and so that all the water wouldn't get out to the river and the river water wouldn't come in, you'd collect it, you'd continue to process it, and we continue to see that ad infinitum, essentially, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct, and that will continue, and that is an active remediation. I guess when we say this is the final phase of remediation, this is the last phase of remedial construction out there.
I got it. So, and again, so the people that are watching, the east side of the site, what you call the east side ecological enhancements, nothing's ever going to be developed there, essentially, correct?
That's correct.
It's going to remain the way it is now.
Yes.
And at some point, there'll be able to be tours on there. How is that going to work?
They will be guided tours, and they will be coordinated through either Pharmacy and Upjohn Company or some entity that they may designate, some local entity they might
So
designate.
that is still coming to us, that we will hear, people will hear a way to do that? Because I don't know how you do it now, and Mr. Downey is walking up here, so if he would like to tell us.
I'm Russell Downey. I'm a representative for Pfizer. My spelling of my last name is D-O-W-N-E-Y. And Russell, 2 S's, 2 L's. So to answer the question put forward is yes, we're looking to hopefully open up the trails by 2020. That is our hope. And what we would like to do probably starting in 2019 is to actually start making some of the interpretive signs. We shared some of that with the North Haven Trail Association, the Citizen Advisory Panel, and others. When we get a little closer, we will reach out to members of the community. It may be for the North Haven Trail Association and some of the other groups, certainly the Land Trust as well. what we're trying to do now is the last part of our administrative order with US EPA as far as the final remedy is to complete what is the west side engineered protective covers, which Gary and John just presented. You know, if we can get that work done, hopefully by late this year, next year, there's a couple things going on. One is it's the planning for the trails. There's some other activities we're engaged in, such as for the west side. The reason that we're proposing the engineer controls as we're presenting them is to try to keep future commercial development on the west side viable, and that would even include potentially like the North Haven train station as a commuter station. Some of you may have heard that rumor. Connecticut DOT has reached out to us, and we were working with them to explore that possibility on a detailed design. And so there's a number of things that are coming together, and one of the other points that was raised here is you're probably right. This is not the last time we'll be in front of this commission, hopefully not tied to the site-wide remedy per se, but there will certainly be other things tied to future land use.
Right, so if you were to use it like either commercial development or a train station, if that's where that would be coming in front of us as well.
That would be correct.
Not a remediation issue, more as a land use issue.
That would be correct. And one thing I would like to add is pharmacy and Upjohn under the order, even though we're going to try to construct this remedy and have it, if you know, be done by 2020, we will have long-term trailing obligations for operation, maintenance, and monitoring for the site. So, you know, we'll be involved for the foreseeable future, including running a groundwater treatment system. And one of the things we're looking to do within the structure itself is maybe even upgrade some of our treatment equipment to meet a future and even more stricter discharge the surface water permit through the state. So there are a number of things we are doing. We are, hopefully the community will see, is that we've been trying to be proactive both in outreach and in communication. But, you know, we do expect to be in front of this commission in the future, tied to the future land use. And with respect to the meeting and the application in front of you, we hope this is the last phase with respect to the remedial, the remedy that was put forward in the order in terms of the construction we have to do. But we will have the long-term trailing obligations.
Thank you. That's all my questions.
Okay. You're still in front there. Teresa, does anybody else on the commission have any questions for this gentleman in respect to this?
No, not right now.
Okay, good. Ron?
All of that, that's all new fill that you're going to be bringing in, stone and everything?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay.
Joe?
You may have touched on this and I maybe missed it, but one of the comments that staff made was there are minor modifications to the site stormwater conveyance infrastructure as a necessary portion of the proposed work. Do you know what, or can you just kind of expand on what that modifications are?
Sure. The minor modifications are, there are a series of inlet catch basins that kind of, I don't know if you can really see it, there's a green line that runs along the east side of the access road. And what we're going to do is we're going to be putting in a concrete gutter over there to basically take the runoff from the access road and direct that to these catch basins. That'll be one of the modifications, and then there'll also be some minor modifications where the existing grates that are on the catch basins, particularly over here in the former relic firewater pond, that those grates will be raised, but there really won't be any other additional modifications to the existing stormwater infrastructure other than those elements.
Good job.
Yep.
Louis?
This virgin fill is a recycled material
It's virgin material.
out of the pit. It's
Yes.
not crushed stone or crushed concrete or anything.
No, we aren't using crushed concrete.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Jonathan, would you mind closing the door? It's kind of distracting with people chattering out there. Couple of questions. The plant operation, you've both used the term foreseeable future. Explain to me, and for other people who might be listening, what's the foreseeable future? Isn't this site going to be contaminated forever?
Yes.
So the foreseeable future is forever?
Yes, certainly in our lifetime, in the rest of my lifetime, I expect to continue operating. Really that system needs to operate until the groundwater that's currently on site is no longer impacted, and groundwater modeling that's done has projected it out past 50 to 100 years from now. So certainly it will be continuing to operate for a very long time.
Okay, thank you. The nature site access, have any agreements been made or reached? I mean, is this access, if I understand correctly, it will not be, quote, open to the public? It's going to have to be guided tours. Is this going to be something that Pfizer has committed to once a year, once a month, once a week? I mean, what's North Haven get out of this?
Russ, do you want to take this one?
I need to reintroduce myself. So what we envision is we're going to try to make this as frequent as we can. So to your question, it could be, within, let's say, the spring, summer, and fall period. It could be, fairly often. It could certainly be weekly or even several times a week. What we were hoping to do, which we have not done yet, but I think we've talked to a few organizations at a high level, probably a few years back, is between, for example, like the Quinnipiac River Watershed Association, North Haven Land Trust, North Haven Trail Association. We are looking to maybe enter into a partnership, or there may be a better term, where we can maybe work with someone at local level to help with those guided tours, and then, we would figure out an arrangement that would be suitable. That has not been done yet, but it has been discussed loosely.
So there's nothing in the consent agreement that confirms that or identifies it? It's just a loose access?
What the consent decree does is it does speak to the east side, which we're talking about now with the trails, that there is a commitment by Pfizer to have some sort of passive recreation. I don't know if that's the right term used in that agreement, but look to make it there for environmental education. But as far as like the frequency or controlled versus uncontrolled, it doesn't speak to that per se. My management, because it's such a large investment on our part, and I would think that the town would agree with this, is that we want to make sure the remedy's intact, both on the groundwater remediation side and these engineered controls we're talking about. So, we want to make sure we don't have like motorized vehicles on these trails. We want to make sure it's foot traffic. We want to make sure that somebody besides Pfizer, as far as if we have custodians that are helping us, are looking out for this as well. One of the obligations that we're going to have both under this order and perhaps a future stewardship permit with the state of Connecticut, which is an environmental type permit for the long-term care, is have we have a financial assurance requirement as far as making sure that there's money that's there for a long period of time. Currently under the order, it's a 30-year projection, but as Gary said, we could be operating here much longer than that, so the way it works is that keeps on rolling, so you at least maintain that 30-year period for the monitoring you'd have under corrective action, which is the regulatory authorizations we're working under. But the order does speak that we're going to look to have that east side use for a passive recreation use in these trails. And then the one thing we have to do yet is put an environmental land use restriction in place, which would say that this part of the site will have these types of use, and that the remedy will be protected in this manner. Through certain types of inspections, or from your caps keep and certain types of woody vegetation, free from that, et cetera.
Okay.
I don't know if I answered your question.
I think is probably as best as you can.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I also had a question on the area on the west side that you're covering up. And everybody has talked about possible future development, whether it's a train station or whatever. What's going to be involved for people who might conceivably be doing construction there, as far as they'll be piercing the cap, they'll be digging into contaminated soil? How big a deal is that going to be? And who will be in charge of that? Will it be Pharmacia, or will it be ABC Corporation that comes in to build a factory, or what?
Well, in all likelihood, whoever comes in and redevelops the site will ultimately be responsible for whatever they are proposing to do on the site for construction. They will be required under to get approval from both US EPA and Connecticut DEP to do any work that might disturb any of the cover systems that are being constructed out there. Pharmacy and Upjohn has looked at and they've solicited some input on some redevelopment concepts, and a lot of the redevelopment concepts that people have proposed out there have actually proposed bringing fill to build up the site so that if they do their construction, they can do the majority of their construction above the contaminated soils, and they'll be working within the clean fill. And that's part of the reason why we were looking at cover system alternatives. We decided to go with a crushed stone and gravel cover system because that's a type of material that could be very well integrated into if some developer needs to bring in some additional fill to build up the site, they could use those materials as a good building material for their infrastructure.
And the soils, the existing soils will allow that, you know, if you're building on top of those soils, you'll be able to support the building with the square footage loads?
That'll be up to the developer to determine how they're going to support their buildings. And I imagine that, you know, prior to going out there, the developer will need to have some sort of geotechnical investigation program to make that determination of how they're going to support the buildings, whether they can go with spread footings, whether they need to go with deep foundations.
Okay. And if it's in your report, I apologize, but I see you're bringing this 30,000 cubic yards material. It's a lot of trucks. How are you dealing with keeping the soil on the site and not tracking it into the street?
Yeah, there will be several areas where we have you know, equipment tracking pads, and in addition to that, equipment that you know will require it to go through a decontamination station where you know, any equipment going through soil will require to go through these stations. They'll get their tires cleaned off. They'll get any soil that may have accumulated if they dump their soil on site. They'll brush off the soil to try to minimize any tracking on site. The majority of the material that is being brought out here, as I mentioned, probably 18,000 yards is a crushed stone or aggregate material. So there should be very little. It'll be a coarse material too. So there should be very little tracking of that material, and the actual volume of soil or fill material that's brought on is relatively small.
Jonathan, have you had a chance to review that part of the plan? Are you comfortable with it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other questions at this time.
So if and when the west side gets built up, will there be a barrier or how do we separate the west side from the east side with a physical barrier? How would that work?
Sure. Well, right now, and I forgot to mention this, one of the things that will be constructed out here is a fence is going in as part of this west side construction. There's a fence going along the south side of the access road over here that crosses, and then there'll be a fence that basically goes between the west side and the east side. So that way, if there are people who are touring the east side of the site, groups that are touring, they will not have access to the east side of the site. And that way, also Pharmacy and Upjohn could also try to maintain continued access to the west side, or I'm sorry, to the east side.
Okay, thanks.
Good enough.
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you.
Can I supplement that, actually?
Yes, please.
So again, Russell Downey. So one of the things I envision is, right now, there's no user for the west side other than we're looking to do the preparedness for a future user for the west side. What I envision with Pfizer is if we find a future reuse for the west side, whether it be a train station or something else, we'd probably enter into a long-term land lease. And if we do that, we think that we're going to have to set up perhaps a separate parcel where we may have to split, such that on the east side we have environmental land use restriction that speaks to that future use for the trails in things, but where the west side may be a different type of use, that may actually have to be a separate parcel in the future. But the reason we can't define it today is we don't know for sure what it's going to be, whether it be a train station or something else. I just want to make that clear that other than fencing and things, there may be actual environmental land use restrictions and actually separate parcels that will tie to those environmental land use restrictions.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, very good.
I have one other one, Vern.
I'm sorry?
Those trails will all be handicap accessible?
Turn to Mr. Downey.
They will not all be
Well,
handicapped.
not all of them, but I mean,
We have looked at this. We have a couple different rings that can be done. We think a ring where people could park and access it near a kiosk that we're planning could be handicap accessible, but there will be other portions that would be, it depends on the type of handicap, I would say. But certainly portion of them would be.
thank you.
Others may be a little tougher because it's going to be a sort of like a crushed stone, pretty packed aggregate. But if it was like a wheelchair up on a hill, that could be a problem on some of the trails.
Okay. That's it.
That's it? Okay. Okay. John?
I'd just like to take care of a couple of housekeeping things. As I'm sure you know, we were at Wetlands last month. They approved it and came back with a positive recommendation for the site plan approvals. And we reviewed Mr. Frederickson's comments regarding additions to the plans, no problems with any of that. And certainly if the commission felt it appropriate, and I presume you would, we would welcome those as conditions of approval. So that's it, and I think we covered everything.
I think after we covered this so many times over the years that
Familiar ground.
repetitious.
Along those lines, I want to thank Mr. Downey, who's been very forthcoming to the commission and in reaching out to the public.
Most definitely.
On a number of occasions, and to a lot of groups, some of which I've been involved in. So they've been very upfront about what's been going on, and we appreciate it.
I'd like to echo Jim's comments. You've been very open with staff. Every time you've been contemplating an application, you've called engineering and land use, and they've really worked with us. And as you say, Jim, they've been very open and offered themselves up to be available to answer questions or to look at the property or what have you. I just got here 13 years ago. You've been at this for a long time, but I appreciate the way you've worked on it.
We appreciate those comments. Thank you.
Okay, 1 second, John. Okay, is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of this application? Anyone in favor? Anyone in opposition? Any comments? Okay, this public hearing is closed. Okay, Rich?
Yep.
Would you go on to number 2, 18-18, P 18-18?
So subdivision applicant of Bennett and STILES Associate Incorporated, applicant Liberty Community Church, owner of 4 lots relative to 32 Sackett Point Road, map 37, lot 71, plan entitled Record Subdivision Map, Planning and Zoning Applicant, prepared by Timberwood Homes LLC, 32 Sackett Point Road, North Haven, Connecticut, prepared by Bennett and STILES Associate Inc., dated April 25th, 2018, and the scale is 1 inch for 30 feet, and it's an R12 zoning district.
Thank you. For the record, my name is David Held. I'm a professional engineer and land surveyor with Provost and Rivero. We are the engineers of HELD. We are the engineers of record on this project. So I'm just going to do a brief overview. This is currently a single parcel proposed to be divided into 4 lots. You can see here on the existing conditions plan, There's a house with an attached garage on the east side of the property, and there's another building over here on the west side, which is historically been utilized as a church. This church building will be demolished in its entirety. The existing garage on the existing house on the east side will be removed, and that becomes a little bit more apparent why when we look at the site development plan. You can see here, in order to meet the setback requirements from the new lot lines, that garage will have to be removed and reconstructed. The way this lays out, there will be 2 front lots and 2 rear lots. All 4 lots will be served by municipal water and sewer. We are proposing new sidewalks up along the street frontage on Sackett Point Road. We are proposing stormwater mitigation measures to take care of the increased impervious areas. In the case of this lot here on the southwest corner, we're actually significantly reducing impervious surfaces because there's the church building there and paved parking, which we're eliminating to be replaced with a single house. So there's really no other outstanding issues that I have to discuss with you. We are in receipt of the planning department's comments and recommendations for approval conditions. We would take no exception to any of those, so if you see fit to vote on this evening, we're fine with those conditions.
You have no problem with any of those conditions? Okay. Well, let's start. Jim?
I've got nothing.
No, this is pretty,
It's pretty much straightforward.
right, it's straightforward.
That little church has been there for forever, for God's sakes, yeah. But in any event, I'm gonna split it up now. Let me get down there. Lou?
No problem.
Joe? Rich?
Good.
Okay.
I got a question. On the lot where the church is, would you have any trouble flip-flopping that house so the driveway was on the other side? The only reason I say that is because you really need a monument at that angle point for a street line.
Yep. I don't think that would be a problem. What's shown on there for a house box is basically just conceptual to show that the lot's feasible for development, but I think at whatever point in time they have a detailed site plan review for that lot, we can take care of that so that the monumentation can be put in.
If you could dodge the 30-inch oak, would be great to keep that.
That's something we can work out.
Yeah, you can work that out
Yeah.
on a site plan
Yeah.
application. Good enough.
Individual house setback.
Yeah. You keep this short.
Yeah,
You're good?
yes.
Alan? Okay. Anything further from you?
No.
Okay. Is there anyone here in favor of this application? Anyone in opposition of this application? Any comments? Public hearing's closed. Rich, would you, P18-19?
It's a re-subdivision applicant of Bennett and Smiles Associate, applicant Margaret Cloutier, owner for 2 lots relative to 117 Upper State Street, map 83, lot 72. Plan entitled Record Subdivision, Map Land, now or formerly Margaret Cloutier, 117 Upper State Street, North Haven, Connecticut, prepared by Bennett and Smiles Associates, Inc., dated 11/22/16, and the scale is 1 inch per 40 feet. It's an R40 zoning district.
Thank you again. For the record, David Held, professional engineer and land surveyor with Provost and Rivero. And this application probably looks familiar. It was actually approved by the commission, I believe, back in 2016. There was not adequate time between your approval and the deadline to file the Mylars because there were agreements to be worked out for open space, which kind of drug on a little bit. That process has been taken care of, so we're reapplying basically with the same design, the same plans, and just seeking reapproval of the subdivision. It is 2 lots. There's an existing house. This area here, we'd be creating a rear lot access strip for access to an additional lot here. Both of these lots are served by on-site septic systems and municipal water. So we've got an approval through that 2016 approval process from the health department for those septic systems. Again, we are proposing to install sidewalk along the street frontage in accordance with your regulations, and we do have some minor comments and recommendations for approval conditions. Again, we take no exception to any of those.
Thank you. Hey, Jonathan, did you look at all that?
It's the exact same one you approved.
It's exactly the same thing.
It's less.
Okay. Does that conclude your?
Yes, I have nothing further.
Okay. Anyone at the commission have any questions?
Yeah. Well, the only question I had, there's a conservation easement on the property, right?
Will be.
There will be. It was a proposed
Okay.
conservation easement.
Well, that's what they gave us, a copy of that language of the conservation easement. I understand what part of the property is conservation easement on? Can you just show me on the map, please?
It's the shaded area.
Which shaded, all of it?
Basically, this area back here, and what would be the north side and the northwest corner of this rear lot. Basically encompasses the wetlands and...
There, but also it continues along, right?
Yeah, if you come over here, this,
Takes care of all of
So
it.
it's conservation easement here,
this whole piece,
here,
right?
so
Correct.
it's all the gray area?
It's really all along the northern
Essentially
side.
the whole north side.
Right.
It's a
Basically
substantial
protecting this
area.
wetland
I
corridor.
get it, yeah. So no development can be done
Correct.
in that area?
That was the one I was talking about before, Jim. I thought there was a driveway going down an easement there.
But that,
Yeah,
yeah.
I cleared that up. Anyway. Okay,
Any other-
anything else? Yeah.
No,
Teresa?
no, I'm good with that one.
Okay, stand by, sir. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of this application? Anyone here would like to speak in opposition to this application? Any comments? Closes this public hearing.
Thank you.
I like this. My goodness. Okay, folks, we're going to move into site plans, which will be 13, which will be P18-16.
What about 10?
I'm sorry,
What about 10?
10?
Yeah.
Then we got 37
18-10.
Nettleton.
Huh?
37 Nettleton,
1810.
P18-10, item 8.
Oh, geez, I won't skip right over that. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, P18-10, 37 Nettleton.
All set. Good evening. My name is Jim Rotundo. I'm a licensed professional engineer with Godfrey Hoffman Associates with our ROTONDO. Our offices are at 26 Broadway here in North Haven. Here tonight representing the applicant, Executive Landscaping, who is the owner of the property at 37 Nettleton Avenue. The property actually consists of two parcels. The rear parcel is approximately 2.1 acres in size and is currently leased by Bay Crane. The site is essentially all paved. They do utilize an 1,100 square foot modular type office building. Parcel A, which is in the front of the site, is approximately 4.5 acres in size. That is occupied by Executive Landscaping. The Executive Landscaping parcel, they have approximately a 24,300 square foot building on it that houses their corporate offices, as well as areas within that building that they service their fleet, store small equipment, and materials they use for jobs such as grass seed, that type of material. The applicant is seeking approval for several different operations on the site. Those include the activities are located within the southeasterly corner of the site or the rear of the site. Those operations, the first one that they're seeking approval for is the coloring of mulch. They purchase mulch from outside sources. They don't manufacture any mulch or wood chips on site. What they do bring it in, though, is they bring it in and they color it in their coloring machine. They use an environmentally friendly type dye. And then those are stored for use on their various jobs. The second operation is similar, where topsoil left over from jobs or purchased from outside sources. They bring it on site, they screen it, create a more uniform type of material, and it's stored for, again, use on their jobs and projects. The area that they're proposing for storing of these materials, there's 3 areas. One along the easterly property line, the southerly property line, and adjacent to the building. And those storage bins, they're proposing a concrete type of block, which they'll stack to store these materials in. The mulch that they're using for projects, the topsoil that they have. Also within those bins, they're proposing to store crushed stone, decorative stone type materials, materials that they will be using on their jobs. They don't sell to the public out of this property. It's all for their own use. In addition to these operations in the storage, the bay crane in the rear parcel is looking to replace their existing modular office building. Their existing building is about 1,100 square feet. That's going to be removed, and they're looking to replace it with another modular type of office building that's about 2,130 square feet. Parking is provided on the site for each of the uses, on each of the parcels to support those uses. In our parking calculations, one of the items I know Alan had mentioned in his review comments was for the landscape use, the employees coming into the site. That is, there's no parking ratio or requirement in your table and your regulations. So what we looked at was 1 space for 2 employees. They have about 30 employees which come to the site. They come in various manners. Not everybody drives. They do carpool. There's a bus stop at the end of Nettleton. They do have employees coming in on the bus. So that's what we based our parking requirement on. However, if we were to increase that to 1 per 1 employee, we still have enough parking on the site to handle that load. So I know that was one of Alan's review comments there. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Were you saying that, on the bus route, how much the employees use the public transportation to get there?
The applicant didn't indicate how many employees, but
how much of the staff or employees use public transportation since you brought the
right, they could not give me an exact number, but just to the amount of parking that we have here, we're assigning 15 parking spaces for the 30 employees with the ratio we used. We used 1 per 2 employees. But if we said everybody drove and each of those 30 employees drove, we still have enough parking on the site. We have, I believe, in excess of 18 spaces. So if we provided those 15 spaces as required for the employees, we would still have an excess of 3 spaces of what's required based on the parking calculations.
Good enough.
So have all the violations been addressed yet on the property?
They are working on them. My last conversation, the fill that was on the town of North Haven property, I believe that's all been removed.
Okay.
And I believe they've started some restoration also in that area.
Okay. There was also equipment on that site that's been removed too. I'm just town could answer me or.
Well, I guess my comment, you've addressed that and saying that they will do that. I don't think that's been done yet. But
Which
there was
has
some,
not been done.
Which part hasn't been done? The removing all the debris?
inoperable motor vehicles, yeah, equipment, wood, debris, sure. Yeah, I don't believe that's all been done. I think that's something that they would do upon approval or what have you.
That is actually in process right now.
Okay.
But I was told by the end of July, I believe they had 14 or 15 pieces of equipment that were being removed from the site that was inoperable. So that is in process right now.
Well, I'll address that in deliberations, I think.
Well, how? I mean, because my concern is if we approve it, how are we going to make sure that gets done?
You want to increase the bond more?
Okay. So
That could be
that's one
possible.
how.
We don't actually have a number yet.
No, I get it, but it concerns me that there's things that, you know, there's violations, and we're here about approving something when there's violations there. You know, it's like, it doesn't make me very comfortable that it's then they're gonna be taken care of.
The only thing I could say is that during conversations with the applicant, that when they came in a few times, was that they were trying to get this plan straightened out so they could do it all at once, but.
Yeah, okay. I
But
mean,
that was-
and there's some validity to that, I understand that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Thank you. That was my most important question. So the fence will be installed, does that exist, or will that be installed, the 6-foot-high chain link fence? That's on you're showing some fencing where it meets the North Haven town property?
No.
Yeah, because this says should
I'll show you.
consider.
Here, you can come up here.
That's an existing one.
It is
Teresa.
existing?
Oh, that's the
Well, that's,
existing, yes.
okay.
That's the one that runs along the south side.
Okay, but then it stops when it hits
There's some on the
the,
east side as well.
yeah, there's some over
Oh,
here too.
that's only up near the front, yes.
Okay,
Not where the violation took place.
okay. So the fence is gonna remain?
Yes.
All right.
Jim, was there any more specificity in regards to the restorations? Would there be any plantings? The town engineer had gone out, I think, at the point of the violation to make a property line call, you know, on it. And there were some trees that were there, I think some shrubs, some trees that were knocked down. Is there a particular plan to get some landscaping back in there?
They've actually, with the removal of that material, I was notified today that they actually planted some trees. I had indicated, based on our conversations, that you wanted to see some kind of restoration plan, and I was told that they'd be willing to work with the town, you know, for adding additional lawn, landscaping, trees, and so forth above what they'd begun to do.
Well, fair enough, okay.
All right, but like your comment, the comment number 2 said the commission should consider requiring the installation of fencing along the easternmost side of the property, and that would be where it abuts the town property, correct?
That is correct.
To eliminate vehicle parking. So is that fence not keeping them off our property? I mean,
I think
it's
towards
not
the
good enough?
rear or the south of the site, there were gaps in that fence. So the fence existed up in the front near Nettleton.
Okay.
The fence existed in the back by the Waltons, but there was a space in between there. Appreciate the proposed bulk storage bin areas with those large
Right.
concrete blocks. You know, that's good. There's a gap, you know, in between there, between the storage bins and the block. You know, we just want to make sure that that stuff is covered. It'd be better to have a physical barrier, but also physical delineation.
I'd prefer
I think that's probably
landscaping.
the
Agreed,
problem.
yes.
I mean, if we could talk about this again, deliberations, I'd prefer trees or landscaping,
Well, I was thinking both.
right?
but,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know.
both would be nice, okay.
So what
should be.
we're saying is that when we get to it in deliberation, we would put that as a condition, that there be some sort of, I mean.
It'd be great to give us some guidance. Jim has said that the owner seems to be willing to provide what we're looking for. So it's just a question of, you know, the commission kind of articulating to us, and we'll put it in the, any proposed approval.
And I guess that's why I'm asking. So in articulating from you, are you saying that we should ask for fencing and trees? Is that
Yeah,
what we should-
that's my
I
recommendation.
think you articulated that.
Okay, fair enough.
Mom, you got any?
And I just have.
Oh, you got one more? I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
you know,
Jim.
Because it says, commission should consider height or area limitations to the stockpile. You saw that comment?
Yes. Actually, and it's on the plan, we're proposing concrete blocks 6 foot high.
Yeah.
That was based on conversations with your staff, based on fencing requirements and so forth. Now, I know the applicant would like to be able to go up to 8 feet high if that's acceptable to the commission.
With the stockpile of materials?
With the stockpile of
8 feet?
material, 8 feet, yes.
As long as there's a limit, I just was worried about a limit. Okay,
Yeah, that's where I was exactly, sure,
That's fine.
yeah.
that's acceptable, that's fine. 8 feet. I don't know, to me, but we'll see we're wrong.
You all set, Jim?
I am.
Alan, I apologize, but I am not clear where you are requesting the fence.
On the
You're talking
on the eastern property line.
Yep,
I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 existing bulk storage area, concrete blocks. You got proposed bulk storage bin area, okay? So you got 5 bins, if you will. Immediately south of those 5 bins, there's no bin, there's no block wall.
that little gap.
Yeah,
So you wanna
that gap
fill-
that's about
Is
27
that
feet,
it?
sure.
You're not concerned about from the gate out to Nettleton?
No, I think that existing fence is
Okay.
still in place, and,
So it's just 30 feet of fence?
well, I think it is, and, you know, assuming that you're gonna approve the block wall.
Right.
Sure.
And where are you talking about, you were also discussing landscaping. There's no room for landscaping there.
No, on town property, I believe.
Sure. Yeah, the area that was impacted, if you look at the southernmost 2 of those bins, I'd say immediately east of that.
I'm sorry, say again.
If you look at those 5 bins.
There's no room for
that are
anything
there,
here.
that
There's
are
inches.
proposed. The infraction was in there.
Right, but you were discussing adding landscaping. There's room for a fence here, but there's no room for landscaping.
There's plenty of room for landscaping on
That's
our
That's
property.
town land.
That's
You
right.
bet. They took trees out. I
Oh,
went back.
okay.
Yeah.
So I wasn't clear. So
Remediation.
they're
Yeah.
planting trees on town
misunderstood.
land to replace ones that were taken down, I'm sure inadvertently.
Yeah,
Do you want to say it that way? Not-
Trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. All right, that's,
they're a local business. They're, you know, engaged and willing.
I didn't think there was
you know,
room on
sure.
their site, and you've confirmed that, but it's now clear to me what you're proposing.
You know, and a lot of people out there may be considering looking for a commercial landscaper. Maybe they'd like to look at some fine work that a commercial landscaper could do, like plant a few trees, put in a little fencing, and, you know.
It's all in your comments.
Thank you.
Alan, that's all in your comments?
It's getting there.
Right. Okay.
I had one other question.
By all means.
This new building that you're gonna put up, it says it's a portable structure, which I'm a little bit confused about. What does that mean? I mean, it's like, and you gave us a drawing, I see it, or a picture, I got it. Is that a building, as for purposes of this site plan, that's a building on the site?
Yes.
I mean, something that we would be able to control later on if they tried. The other one is whatever it is, and I think I had a discussion with you, that was never on a site plan before, correct? The other portable structure?
I think it was not.
Okay. But
And
this
that-
one now is,
Yes.
and that's good enough for the site plan? I don't
Yeah,
like the words portable very much.
If I may, it's a modular type of building.
Right.
So it's essentially 3 bays. So I guess you could say it's portable, that they do bring them in on wheels, and then they set it on a foundation.
But it's not, doesn't
And
move
so,
after.
no, it's not like you hook it up to your trailer and you move it around the site.
Yeah, that's good. So it's part of the site plan.
Lego building.
Yes.
When I wrote my comments, I actually crossed the word out probably 3 different times and changed it back between, I don't know if everybody knows what modular is.
Right.
So, yeah, that's what it is. It's sort of an upscale trailer, job trailer, if you will, but it has no foundation.
Yep. And I didn't know what modular was.
Are you good,
We
Jim?
knew that was for Jim.
Are we good now on this side?
Yep, we're good.
Okay. Okay, being any more questions, staff, do you have any more questions?
All set.
Commission, you have any more questions? Anyone? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Good question, but we'll see.
Okay, I guess now we can get over to what I was
16.
quick to jump to. Okay. Okay, is there anyone here for P 18-16? Site plan for 11 Universal? Yes. Okay.
The name is pronounced incorrectly, so if you could rewrite the name, please.
You have to speak up a little bit, sir.
Sorry, it's Moaz, M-O-U-A-Z, last name A-L-N-A-H-L-A-W-I. H-L-A-W-I. Should I go ahead?
You're up.
Okay. We recently acquired the property about like 6 or 7 months ago, and I'm applying for a proposed refrigerator and a proposed diesel exhaust fluid tank on the property. I did receive a variance approval in March, I believe, for the cooler on the property. I believe the diesel exhaust fluid tank didn't require a variance approval. And
It's usually good if you give us an explanation of what you're asking permission for.
okay, oh, sorry for that. It's my first time, so
Go ahead.
Yep.
the diesel exhaust fluid tank, it's an EPA requirement since 2010. All trucks and diesel vehicles after the year 2016 do require that because it does help in reducing emissions and greenhouse gases. So eventually all diesel stations will require that fluid to be available on site for the truckers to be able to obtain. The cooler is just to further increase product inside the store. That's the primary reason for that.
So it'll be like food or drinks in
Just
the cooler?
drinks.
Okay, drinks in the cooler. And how do you, so what is a diesel exhaust fluid tank? I mean, the truckers use this?
Yes, for any truck past the year 2007, it has a separate tank right besides the diesel tank, which mixes in with the diesel and reduces the carbon emissions coming out of the truck.
Oh.
And as of 2010, it was a requirement by the EPA. So any truck being manufactured after 2010 does need that tank as a requirement.
All right, thanks.
Plus, it's a non-hazardous and non-toxic substance.
Thank you.
So how does that, I'm just curious now, how does it work? What is it on your site? Does the truck pull into your site and hook up to that?
Well, the tank is going to be located on the site. There's going to be pipes going towards the pumps.
Right.
There's 2 pumps at the location currently that are compatible to accept that fluid, and they would just fill it up just like any normal fueling station. So there would be a pump. There would be a separate nozzle for the diesel exhaust fluid at the pump where the canopy is, but the tank itself would be off the canopy.
Put it into the trucks?
Yeah, they put it into the truck and then it mixes, right?
So
with
that's
gas.
the tank and the fuel dispensers, there'll be a separate dispenser at the island to
Right.
fill that.
So the tank is to hold the fluid that gets dispensed into the trucks?
You got it.
Correct.
Didn't understand. Got it. That's all I have.
I'm all set.
Shouldn't we talk about sidewalks? Because it's a,
Yeah,
are you aware of the issue with sidewalks? Because it's not shown in your plan, but it's being suggested or asked for by the regulations.
Okay. Well, there is no sidewalk currently, so I don't know what the regulations are. I just showed the exactly what was on the what's on the property on the survey.
Well, you bring the site plan, the new site plan. Did you went in to talk to staff before you came here, didn't you?
Yep.
Didn't they mention sidewalks to you?
They did mention to include the sidewalk if the sidewalk is included on the property. They didn't say that it needs to be added on it.
Well,
Just because of the location of the site, there is no sidewalk to any of the properties located right next to us.
I understand what you're saying. How much frontage do you have to run on there? A lot.
Yeah, there's quite a bit. Corner, right?
Yeah, that entire corner. That's where.
Yeah.
350. Probably close to 400 feet.
Yeah.
Lineal.
Is this an area we want to encourage?
Well, this is,
No.
I think it's a deliberation issue anyway,
Yeah.
but you know how I feel about sidewalks, but this is largely paved. I mean, the whole thing's paved, so it's similar to, we've had people on State Street, like the place, the Big Brothers on State Street was completely paved, and you said, okay, you can walk without being on the street. I think you know, I love sidewalks, but
Yeah. Well, we could talk about this.
but I think it's a deliberation issue.
Yeah, okay.
But is it safe to assume you'd prefer not to put sidewalks in?
Yeah.
I can't say that right now. There is a large concrete pad, but
No, it's,
Yeah, no.
is it safe to assume you would prefer to not?
I would prefer not to put a
Okay,
sidewalk.
thank you.
Good. That's what we want to hear.
Just because a lot of times where that corner is, a lot of the larger trucks do back up into that.
Move over, yeah.
Just-
We
just say you
understand the
prefer not to.
reasons. Yeah.
We got
Not to.
You don't get in trouble after
Rich?
that.
I'm all set.
Joe?
I'm good.
Okay. Staff?
All set.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Folks, is this one?
Alan, I'm
Alright,
just
soon.
confused. This is the first application we've seen for one of these extra tanks. Has this been a requirement for a while? Are we going to be seeing more of these, or what?
Sounds like it.
I think we may. I don't know if they have a unique concept relative to dispensing it. I'm not sure how it gets dispensed otherwise, if people have put them underground. I'm not really sure about that.
Okay.
Really, you're looking, this is one of those fine line site plan things. He had to do a site plan to add the cooler.
Right.
So I said, put it on the site plan. This is something that probably, like a generator, could be added under other,
Right.
assuming, they initially had a plan that had a tank that exceeded 8 feet in height. That's a problem in the setback, because that's a building. So they were able to turn it and reduce that height. I don't know how many of them you'll see, or if you'll see them under other, not
Okay, I
sure.
was just curious.
This is probably one of the few fueling stations that's really geared for trucks. It's limited to diesel fuel only. So it's
Yeah.
a little more heavy-duty a station, if you will.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We have 14, which is P 1817 1122.
Green skies.
Taking them both, right?
Yeah, we'll take the cam at the same time.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, members of the staff. My name is Bill Fries, F-R-I-E-S, with BL Companies, and I'm here representing Green Skies for this project. The project you see today is on the existing landfill wastewater treatment plant. I believe you guys have saw the first phase of the project that was done several years back, successfully completed on this site. We're here today for the phase 2 of that project. We're looking to place 2 new systems. System 1 is a system located at the top of the landfill in this area here.
System 2 is located in here. The site has Universal Drive to the east, the Muddy River to the north, Quinnipiac River to the west, and commercial property to the south. We're utilizing both the flat spots on both of those areas to limit disturbance. Unlike the first system, we're using a ballast system on these, so they will actually sit on top. There's no need to bore into the cap or anything on the landfill. So they'll sit there similar to what you would see on a rooftop system. They're weighted, they sit on top. We will have some trenching in the cap for a gravel area in front of each panel. That's how we're treating our stormwater. We're also treating our stormwater by taking the bare earth that's out there today, and we're going to actually vegetate underneath the panel. So we're taking a condition that has bare earth and vegetating it with a low mow seed mix. So we'll vegetate the top, and then you'll have a little bit of excavation to get the conduits from the existing systems down into the power plant area here. These are the tanks. There's the blower building located in this area, and we'll be running the conduits for electrical and communications from the system down through these trench areas. The overall site is about 31 acres. We're a IG-80 zone, and our property or our development is only going to be, System 1 is taking up about 1.12 acres, and System 2 is about a half acre. And with the disturbance for trenching and all that, we're right around 2 acres or so. So again, we're utilizing the flat areas. We're not taking out any existing vegetation. We're utilizing all the roads that are there today. We've proposed a full erosion and sediment control plan to maintain the areas while we're doing our construction. We have anti-tracking pads will be located at each construction entrance. And I'd be happy to take any questions or concerns.
Jim?
To make a long story short, what you're doing is putting additional solar panels on top of we don't call it the dump, what do we call it?
The landfill.
The landfill.
Historic
Right.
landfill, I think.
Historic landfill and Universal Drive. That's the essence of this. You're just
Now
putting more
closed.
solar panels, correct?
Historic.
And the solar panels are this is on town property, to the benefit of the town. You want to explain why?
Yes, so we're powering back we're bringing back the power to help power the plant. So the first system did the same thing a couple years back, and we're just adding additional power.
When you say power the plant, isn't it supposed to power some town buildings or something like that? How does this work?
This particular system, the first system powered where the sewage first comes into the building, there's a pump system there, and that a system that was already installed now helps power that. It feeds into that, and that's basically runs 24/7.
The power is the town
It
building?
adds,
Yes.
it uses the electricity to run the pumps for the sewage treatment plant.
Right, that's what I was asking.
And then the newer system will be running into the other portion of the plant and feeding that portion of the plant.
So this is a benefit to the town of North Haven?
That is correct, sir.
Go ahead.
Okay. Is that your all set?
I'm all set, yeah.
Okay. Are you good, Teresa?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm glad it's going to be on a ballast system. That's good. It won't
Lou?
penetrate.
Joe?
I'm just curious, how much power will it be generating when it's all up and running?
Bless you.
Bless you.
Could you say that question again, Joe?
You can't sneeze and hear at the same time?
I was just asking how much power, when it's all up and running, it'll generate.
Sure, yeah. And Wally Kerrigan's
Can that
here
step
from
up,
Green
sir?
Skies.
You guys step to the mic.
My name is Wally Kerrigan, last name Kerrigan, Kerrigan. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but both arrays aggregate will provide about 25 to 30% of the annual power usage for that section of the treatment plant.
So with the earlier panels plus these proposed panels, you'll be around 25% of what the plant requires or draws?
for its annual usage in kilowatt hours.
Okay.
Joe?
Dollars and cents, what are we getting out of it? Forget the kilowatts.
Dollars and cents is
Dollars
not
and
my
cents.
department.
And what are you getting out of it? What's the town getting out of it?
The town's getting cheaper power.
How much cheaper? I mean,
That I don't have. That's from our biz dev department. But if you want those numbers, we can get those for you.
You good?
Well, they're getting
Yep.
cleaner energy too. I mean, it's, you know,
Well,
that's a benefit.
We're talking a little bit there.
maybe we should get more information.
You want that information, Lou?
Yeah.
Well, our arrangement here is to review the installation.
Right.
The decision to place the panels there and the charges and the benefit is not a decision that we've been able to make here. It's been something that finance has made together with the selectmen. So I'm not sure how we could get that information or how we could override what's being proposed, but.
This particular thing is on a landfill. The land will never be used for anything else. But I hear rumors that they want to start putting in open fields, which are kind of ugly, if you ask me.
Okay. Are you okay with this?
This?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a dump.
Very good.
It's an historic landfill.
It's a dump.
Okay, that's enough, folks.
Yeah, I just want to confirm, am I correct in my assumption that there's a setback on the southern side of the property? A building setback?
Yes, yeah.
Right.
There's basically the front setbacks are 75 feet, the side setbacks are 25, and the rears are 75.
And is there anything happening that would preclude a possible future use of that for access to the river?
No, not at all. Nope. Yeah, that's why we're utilizing the upper portions that are used today for this side there was wood chips and logs. This side here had various piles of topsoil and whatnot, but we're not getting any closer than what those tops of the areas are. Nope. And we're reutilizing the access roads are there today, so we're not prohibiting any access to the river.
The slopes anyways, Ron, are so steep along the river there.
I'm not suggesting along the river, I'm suggesting possibly using that as a route to get to the river along the southern property line, like from the dog pound heading west.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a little ways from there. I have to say, I'm not in favor of superimposing crafted drawings over aerial photos, but in this particular instance, I think it's very helpful because of the complex site.
Sure.
I asked for setbacks as an administrative matter because they're required. I have no fear that they're anywhere near those
It didn't
limitations.
appear to, I just wanted to confirm.
Good, you satisfied with that? That's good. Okay. Everybody's good with that? Okay, folks?
Okay.
Staff, you're okay?
All set?
Very good.
Awesome. Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Okay. Okay. Is there, Alan, we're gonna go to other, we have 500 Lexington Garden. Is there someone here for that, or
Yeah, that's
Alan, are you, okay?
I am Brian Pause. That's my second again. Brian Pause, P-A-U-S-E, and that's 500 Lexington Gardens, Unit 35. And I'm here to present the idea of we're looking to put a jacuzzi in to the side of our house on our property. You know, a 7 by 7 foot jacuzzi, and we're looking at putting it on a gravel foundation.
I don't know if my question's for you or for staff,
No,
but
go right there.
why do we have this application?
Well, let's go into this. Brian is what we call a guinea pig, okay?
Okay.
Lexington Gardens is a common interest community. This is a site plan. This is like any multi-family or commercial property. So to add a hot tub or a shed is something that requires P&Z approval. You guys have been very nice about doing generators, sheds, small structures under other. So I said, well, let's bring them in under other. This would be something that would require a residential plot plan if it was on a residential lot. It's on a large multifamily lot.
Right.
They had some big issues in Wallingford, very similar, where they just had to work something out. We have many condominium complexes, common interest communities here in town, and we've held them all to the same sort of letter of the law. This is probably one of the first developments where people are really taking in their minds and in some reality ownership of a particular segment of ground. This was not a subdivision.
Right.
That common area is owned technically by the association, the common interest community.
And if there's nothing in the association deeds or paperwork that talks about stuff like this?
I hope not, because I think that would be illegal. So when we look at that, whether it is a common element or a limited common element, I'm not sure. If Brian has sole use to that particular area, I guess that's something their condo documents can define. But you've got to come, they've got to come here to get permission to do it, unless the commission sees fit to town-wide authorize staff to just independently make that decision.
We're not doing that.
Okay. Well, I didn't think, Jimmy, you were gonna.
Very well, Brian's here, yes.
Is this the same, if they were gonna add more, a bit of bigger deck on, it's sort of the same thing?
Yeah.
Or it's not?
Well, it is.
Okay, it is. All right, no, that's just, I want a clarification.
So you're saying a hot tub or a jacuzzi is the same as a shed for purposes, it's part of the site plan? Interesting question. I'd rather it come, that's
Yeah.
good. And it's.
That's where we sit.
The
Yeah.
applicant is representing, the association gave you permission to do
Yeah,
this, assuming
yeah.
that we're okay with
Yeah,
it.
as long as the town is,
So what's on this plan that has a line through it, there's no real line, right? I mean,
Right,
common area is the whole thing,
right.
So
right?
what's,
I mean,
what is the purpose of that dashed line?
Yeah, what,
no, that is to delineate like between properties.
I get it,
Yeah.
but-
But they're not properties.
But there may be
So why-
a purpose in terms of the documents.
Condo documents
I
themselves?
own a condominium
So,
in another town, okay? It's got a deck on it.
yeah,
Deck's outside of the exterior wall.
right.
It's my deck. It's a limited common element. That is for my exclusive use or the use of my tenants, but yet,
I
don't own it.
I get what you're saying. Let me
I own
just
a
ask this
percentage of
gentleman.
it.
So there's a line there, right? Is it your understanding that you have exclusive use up to that
Yes.
line? Your neighbor can't cross over that line?
they can't do things beyond that line, I can't do
And what
things.
says that? You think your condo documents say that?
I remember talking to the builder when we were building it, he goes, that line goes all the way back to the woods. You know, I can plant
Interesting
trees,
question.
Yeah.
I can plant trees, and I've been doing that. He's, the association's giving me permissions to do that.
It is an interesting
Yeah, no question.
Don't
Yeah,
say
you don't
any
have any problem with
It
this.
is interesting, but
Use the word, but.
Are you good with?
just like a ground lease is what it
I
is.
think he should have.
I have a hot tub.
Okay.
I like them.
I'm all for him too, so.
Okay, does anybody else have anything to say?
I mean, is it your intent to get it as close to the property line as possible? Would you consider sliding it closer to your deck to get it away from?
I'm trying to
the
move it to
neighbor?
keep it away from windows and stuff because it gets into other codes, so that's why I'm putting it to the side of the house, just to avoid anything else. But we've measured it, I mean, I'm 15 feet out from the corner, I even go further as the line drags away. So I'm only looking at doing a 10 by 12 gravel pit, so that won't even take me to the line. I'll still be a good 3-4 feet away from the line.
So when you
The
got
line.
permission from the association, your neighbor knew that you were asking for this permission?
Yeah, yeah. I've talked to the neighbor about it. He's
okay with it?
He's cool with it, yeah.
As long as he can use
Well, the
it.
whole association would,
Well, that's, I don't know what the process
Yeah,
is. but-
yeah, and the association, I mean, at the time when I got permission, my builder was because we were at a certain percentage occupancy, my builder was the association.
do you have an association there yet?
Yeah, we were at a point now where we just voted in a committee.
Did it, you have enough people there to do it?
Yeah, we have enough
Well,
people.
they'll have a say on this after we're through with
Well,
this.
your neighbor was okay with it?
My neighbor was okay with it, and then at the time, my builder was good with it, and we talked to both neighbors.
Okay.
Does the association specify bathing suits or no bathing suits?
I don't see that in the bylaws anywhere.
Rich?
Does this open it up to every other homeowner there? They would have to come to us if they want to put a hot tub in? Or?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Joe, you good? Lou?
Kind of hearing. If the whole association agrees to it, you know, we have no problem with it, but I've yet to see 50 people agree on one thing.
You know, let's get through it here, and you can deal with the association.
Yeah.
Okay,
I can work with it.
that's it. You all set?
I'm good, yeah.
Staff?
Set.
Okay, so, thank you.
Thank you so much.
432 Washington Avenue. It's a generator.
My name is Timothy Johns, Johns, and I guess it's a pretty simple application. We want to add a backup generator to the corporate office at 432 Washington Avenue. Reasons are we have clients with special needs. We transport people in during the day. They do different functions there, activities, work, so on and so forth. Then they're transported back at the end of the day. So the primary thing is that time in between, should we lose power or anything, to organize our transportation, everything takes time. And as I've said, some of the people there do have special needs, so we'd want to have that generator so that we would have the power for whatever we may need, keep the environment controlled until we can organize everything and get these people back to their homes in case of an emergency. As well as in a catastrophic type situation, the neighborhood in that area would be more than welcome to come and shelter there if it need be.
Mr. Borer, the president of Goodwill Southern New England, provided this letter earlier today. And I think it's sort of self-explanatory. I also think they wrote a very nice summary of the work, and their plan kind of illustrates what they're looking to do, which makes sense. They've got something else back there, another piece of equipment, some fencing, so they would put it in the same area.
Correct. I believe it's going to go in the northeast corner of the building, and it'll be all enclosed, fenced in.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Will it
So
be
it's away
fenced?
from
Okay.
the property line, it's towards
Yeah,
their
it's
building.
Right, yeah, no, I can see that.
But, anything else, folks?
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions. Is it going to be on any sort of a automatic timer to turn on once a week to exercise?
No, it would only come on in the event of loss of power.
Okay.
I mean, there will be times where you have to test it to make sure that it's functioning properly, but no, it's strictly for an emergency backup.
Okay. And I'm not sure if you know the answer to this question, or Jonathan, but I know that there's various sound baffling enclosures you can get for these. Do you know if the one proposed has the greatest amount of reduction? I'm just concerned about the immediate property owner. There's a house not very far from there, and if a generator's going, it'd be nice for it to be as quiet as possible. I didn't see any mention about the enclosure.
In the second paragraph, the last sentence of their presentation, tower generator has sound housing and is 74.6 dBA quiet at 23 feet 7 meters, if that helps.
Does it help? Is that?
I'm not a sound engineer.
So is that loud or soft?
They're small motors.
I'm not hearing that discussion. Ron, do you know what that means?
Well, I don't know how loud or soft
I honestly don't know. I don't know sound engineer.
74 dB sounds pretty reasonably quiet to me.
I'm assuming it's going to be no worse than Joe Smith's throwing his generator on when we have a power outage, so.
But just the fact that it says it's a sound housing and there's
It's
a
probably
decibel
going to be quieter
level
than most homeowners.
listed. Yes, it makes me feel more confidence.
Yeah,
Quieter than most what?
homeowners.
Oh, yeah. All right, good.
That's all I have.
Rich?
Sound was my question, but he covered it.
All right. Joe?
They're all over town already.
Well, they really are, yeah.
We shouldn't need a meter permit.
Okay, all set?
Okay, thank you.
Very good, thank you. Okay, we have, the rest of this we can take, well, we only got
Extension.
the extension, yeah, we'll take that in deliberation. Okay, take a 10-minute break.
Okay.
That's it.
You're best.
Darn close, anyway.
Yeah, you can't be as bad. No, that bad.
Good, let's get out of here.
Okay, that's good enough.
We're on.
Okay, folks, we're back from our break, and we're gonna go right into deliberations at this point, which will be no public input. Can I get a motion?
That we go into deliberations.
Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, we start right off with P18-15S excavation fill permit for the Upjohn. Can I get an approval, a motion to approve that as with the staff's comments?
I'll make a motion to approve with staff comments.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We'll go on to 11. Over to 11, which goes along with this, and this would be the site plan. Can I get a motion to approve the site plan for the same application, P18-15?
I'll make a motion to approve the site plan application.
And I'll second that.
All in favor?
Before, wait, just before, there was something about the driveway, so what are we doing? Isn't this the one with the driveway issue?
No, we're on the site plan for Upjohn,
We're still on.
Oh, I'm
She
sorry,
skipped.
I apologize.
but I got you.
Got it.
You okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
So we need a vote.
We got a motion and a second?
Yes, we
Yep.
do.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Okay. Okay, now I want to do the CAM, which would be P18-15A. And a motion to approve the CAM.
I make a motion to approve the CAM of Pharmacia.
And I will second.
Okay, we're on second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that takes care of that. Okay, folks, we're going to back up to number 2, which is P18-18. It's a 4-lot subdivision on SACKETT Point Road where the church presently stands. Can I get a motion to approve as it was presented?
I'll make a motion to approve the site plan with staff comments with the addition that the developer work with staff to suitably relocate the driveway to the building where the church currently is.
Okay.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, we'll now move forward here. We're going to P18-19. This is the 2-lot subdivision on Upper State Street. It was before us, some time ago, and it expired. And we just talked about this, Jim, where the easement is there. I'd like to get a motion to approve it, exactly the same thing as it was before.
I'll make a motion to approve with applicable staff comments.
I got a motion, can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna go from there. We gotta get over to P 18-10. This is 37 Nettleton Avenue. So it should be probably a little discussion on this, to where you want to put your fence and the shrubbery and the trees and so forth. I think staff, you're going to have to get in and work with those folks in respect to this. Well, I'd like to get a motion.
Well, I'll go ahead.
Get a motion. Give me a motion, please.
I make a motion
Okay.
to approve for discussion.
Okay. And can I get a second?
Well, we're not going to call for a vote,
Yeah,
right?
no, I'm not going to.
Then I'll second it
Okay,
for discussion.
Okay, now, let's get what we want to put into this, how we want to put this into it, from staff, I think would be helpful.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, how do you want to define
Yeah, how do you
exactly
want to
where you
define
want
that?
the
Go ahead and
fence?
do that.
My question, my thought might be, instead of an actual fence, do you want to continue the 6-foot-high set of blocks across that gap?
That'd be a lot better than a fence.
Then if they were running equipment and stuff in there, they're not gonna knock down the fence.
So just fill that gap between the two bins with continuous 6-foot-high concrete blocks.
That would be my suggestion.
Okay.
With that?
That's fine by me.
Yeah,
But that's not the end of the discussion.
but that's not the end of discussion, because,
By far.
you know, I'm not inclined, I want to discuss,
The plantings.
Well, the elimination of violation, correct?
right, so how do we ensure, I understand they said they're working toward it, but how do we ensure it, and can we somehow tie it to CO for the building they're proposing?
Wait a minute, are you talking about the fence, or are you talking about other issues?
Oh, I'm talking about violations
Oh, okay.
at this
well,
point. Or do you want, I'm sorry, are we
Are you
not?
okay, doing one thing at a
Oh,
time?
I'm okay with
You okay
that.
with replacing
Yes.
the fence with the
Yes,
blocks?
I'm sorry,
Okay.
yes, I am.
And we should probably, just going through the numbers, should we put as a condition of approval the height limitation of
Yeah.
8 feet that was agreed
Yep.
to?
Yes.
Yeah, I like that
Okay.
too.
Yeah, I've got that in.
Okay. Now, for the remediation of the town property, how do we define that?
Do you wanna leave that, can you do that up to the staff's
With
discretion?
the trees and the, yeah, I'm okay
That's
with
what we
staff.
talked about.
But the problem, and this is kind of what you were getting at, is like, I'm fine with you guys doing it. I just want it to be done in a timely manner, and there's no way that we're saying what that is, but Teresa's idea was that the remediation would have to be completed before a CO be issued for that building.
Well, and I think,
That okay?
I think that's a
I
good
would
idea.
like that.
We'll put that in there.
Or
Well,
before a permit.
That's
is-
not a bad idea, but are these temporary structures, do they require a C of O?
I think
Well, there's
it's
a
going on
bathroom in there. They're talking about
They gotta pull a building.
placing a new
All
one
right,
and
it could be
eliminating the
prior
old one.
I
to,
know.
you know
So
what,
they're
Ron?
utilities.
It's just
Prior
that-
to issuance of building permit.
That's fine too.
Well, I don't know if there's a building permit.
Yeah, there has to be a
required.
There
building
has to be,
permit.
yes, there has to be.
With a.
Yeah, you
No
got
doubt about
electrical and plumbing.
Do it that way.
Yeah.
Do
You
it-
can't ever do any electrical or plumbing without a permit.
Yeah,
As a contractor, you know that.
yeah.
So I'd like to tie it, I'd like to tie it to
Can't we
issuance
have
of
just,
building
Yeah.
permit.
clean up all the violations before we give a permit for the new building?
That's
Right,
what I
that's what
just
I'm
said.
saying. Right.
Perfect.
You didn't
Okay.
hear me
Should be
down that
simple
end?
enough.
Yeah.
Teresa,
Yes.
you make the motion?
Wait,
Yeah.
Ron,
Well, I
was
don't know
that
if we're
everything?
done yet.
I
I
just
don't know
wanna
if
know
we're
if you're
done.
tinkering with
Tinkering with
Sure.
Ron's motion.
No, I think that we've
I did
covered
make the
Well,
motion.
Okay,
the issues.
good.
Now, as far as the remediation, or the restoration of the town property, we're really looking at adding trees, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
So they presumably took down a few trees, maybe a lot of trees.
But this is,
But that we can leave up to town.
Right. Up
So
to
you'll
the
Town
specify
administration.
caliber and species and,
Right, we'll take care of that.
okay.
All right, so I need to amend the motion now.
No, just add that
to
to the
include those
motion.
4 things.
Okay.
We're gonna add that right to the motion. You have that, Pam?
Do we know all those 4 items then?
Pam? Yes, she's got it.
Okay, so,
Okay.
all right.
Okay, very good. She has it. Are you satisfied, Jonathan?
I'm satisfied, Alan, you
Alan?
got all four of them?
Well, I'm getting close. So then, we're also gonna hold building permits.
Still all violations.
Until the
Violations or
restoration.
remediation is done to your
Right.
satisfaction.
Right. And the vehicles are gone, et cetera, et
All
cetera.
the-
All the
All that stuff,
violations,
yeah.
Violations.
all of them, yeah.
These are gonna hurt, not make it work out of the old building until they're finished.
All right, that'll clean that place up.
Yeah, no, it's good.
That should clean it up. We should have it there.
So you
Okay.
need to take a vote.
Yeah. Give him a chance. You got enough there, Alan?
Yeah, so as Teresa said, 4 things. So you've got town staff will delineate the restoration trees. We will continue the 6-foot-high block wall all the way across that eastern border. That's second thing. Third thing would go with an 8-foot height limit on the piles of stock. And the fourth thing would be whole building permits until all violations are cured.
Good.
Yes.
Okay, we have got it. We got
In
it.
addition to everything else that we've got.
Okay, we
Yes,
have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good. Okay, thank you. That is good. 37 Nettleton is out of the way. Very good. Moving forward.
Closing.
Okay, we'll go to P-16, which is the 11 Universal Drive. It is the, we're certainly not going to make them put.
The tank and the cooler. Listen, I'll come out and say, look, I want sidewalks everywhere. I don't
everybody
think it's
does.
reasonable to put them 400 feet of sidewalks in a thing that is essentially all blacktop, and people can walk there and get off the road. So I have no problem with what he's asking for, and I would support a waiver of sidewalks.
Okay. You make a motion?
Wait, yeah.
Sidewalks would get destroyed with the trucks. They'd be
Yeah, I'm with
cracked.
you.
It'd be
I'm
worse
with
than
you.
the asphalt out.
I'm with you. That's fine. So I'll make a motion to approve his application.
Okay. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, both good. That's out of the way. And go right on. Right on down to, okay, the hot tub, the.
How about 11?
Green skies,
The solar panels.
solar panels, the
On
site
the-
plan and CAM.
On the ancient landfill.
Historic.
Show me where I'm at.
Right here.
Hysterical?
AKA the dump.
Yes.
Green skies.
Oh, yes, okay, go ahead. Okay, now, 1122 Universal Drive. It's a site plan and it's the easement and, can I get a motion to approve that as it was presented?
I'll make a motion to approve for Green Skies Renewable.
The site plan, we're doing
The
one
site
at a time,
plan,
right?
I'm sorry, 18-17 site plan.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the CAM?
Motion to approve the CAM application for Green Skies.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now I guess we can turn the page.
Now to the hot tub.
Thankfully. Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion that we give the guy his hot tub.
Yep. Okay. You
And that
second?
hot tub,
Clothing
I think
optional?
if they have an association, they should have some bylaws that limit or reject it. That shouldn't be up to us. It should be
Well,
an association
I don't know.
This
bylaws.
has to be up to us.
Why?
This part has to be up to us. They're still gonna have, I don't think they've got their association
Well, I
put
think they
together
should get an
yet.
association before they start putting things like this, because it's gonna be a nightmare. We'll have people fighting with one another.
But they have one though now. He said he went to.
They do have a
together.
Yeah, he did say that they're getting it together.
But he presented that he already went to his
And I don't,
association.
I don't know if it was the
I mean,
developer or.
I agree with Lou. I mean, everything that he said was hearsay. He didn't have anything in writing showing any.
Here's the thing, before they can get a building permit, an electrical permit, a plumbing permit, anything, they're gonna need the owner to sign off. So LAO is gonna require
Sure
a
is.
signature of the president of the association or what have you.
Okay.
So I'm comfortable with that.
Okay.
If you guys approve the concept, then we can sign off.
Good enough. Jim made a motion.
The land, is that what it is?
Yeah, it's a
I think
condo.
I don't know if I seconded it or Ron seconded.
Yeah.
Okay. Teresa
I made the
second?
motion, that's all I know.
I'll second it then, that's
Okay,
fine.
Teresa
Wait a minute,
second.
so we do have a motion. Jim?
Yeah.
Jim?
Well, it's
And
other.
Teresa seconded.
Correct.
Yep, it's another. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Okay, 432 Washington Avenue. Can I get a motion to approve the generator as it was?
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Okay, can I get a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Extensions?
Yeah,
Alan?
we have the one item there. A while back, you had approved this site plan. There was a pizza restaurant that was proposed there,
Right.
55
There's
to
gonna be
59.
delivery for the most part, right?
State.
Not eat-in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really a multi-use building there, and they've had a little turnover, the cabinet places left, all that. So they're just kind of struggling. There wasn't too much we could do, but we had them delineate a walkway up against the building, and we did the best we could on the sidewalks.
Yeah, I remember that.
They're not professional developers, and they've struggled a little bit in terms of getting their final sign-offs and providing us with information. They're only lacking a DOT approval at this point, and apparently they were close to getting that, and we noticed that they're expired. So that's why that one's here.
Okay. I need a motion to approve this.
Want it from me?
Yeah.
Then I'll make a motion for it, because Vern asked nicely.
Teresa?
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. That takes care of that. Extension, can I get a motion to approve the May 7th, 2018 minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for May.
Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Anything else?
It's a wrap.
Okay. Motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
No,
I'll second that.
Rich second. Okay. Thank you. Everybody in favor?
Yes.
Okay.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.